Not Nerd Podcast, Episode 359, Regretted Attrition.
Welcome to the Not Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, hello there, Nate. And you know what I am? I am hungry.
Yes.
Because today, as we record this, it is National Food Day, or so I'm told.
Yes.
But more importantly, it's World Tripe Day.
Yes.
There you go.
And National Jamaican Jerk Day and National Bologna Day. Or Bologna.
Yeah, I like me some Jamaican jerk. That's
Yes,
for sure.
Bologna not as much.
Yeah.
Especially the stuff you get at the store, the cheapo stuff.
Yeah. I'm very much into processed meat products.
Yes.
But my doctor says I should avoid those.
Yes, nitrates and the such. But you know what you should not avoid is talking about technology. And a mere 12 hours after we recorded last week's episode, Apple had an announcement that we're going to talk about a little bit later. They just had to wait till we were done. So if you heard about that and we didn't talk about it last week, it's because we didn't know about it last week.
Yeah.
But first, we must get into some follow-up. And last week, listener Chris sent in his pick of the week for the Headlight Refurbisher Renewal Kit. I got mine, and I was lazy throughout the week. And when the weekend came, the weather changed, and I had this thought in my head, and I read the instructions. It must be very dry for one of the stages, so I'm going to have to wait now until we get into have a dry day to be able to not have it raining, because as all of our listeners, especially Elliot in Australia, love to hear, the weather has changed here in Oregon. So I mentioned last week I DJ'd a wedding. So it would be 2 Saturdays ago now. It was like at least 85 degrees, sunny. I was sweating while I was setting up. This past weekend, I DJ'd a wedding up on Mount Hood. It was a high of 35 degrees. So that was a 50-degree swing in 1 week between DJing weddings.
And of importance to nobody but me and my family, we got our house painted this past week, and they finished kind of like the day before it started to let go. So, good timing.
Yes. Okay, well, now back to follow-up. So I will do that Headlight kit. I am excited, and I was in Eugene last week having dinner with my brother, and on the TV, I happened to catch a commercial for the exact product that Chris recommended. So not only is it a Chris recommendation, they pay money for TV commercials.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing if your results are any different than mine. Remember, my story did not turn out too well with the local car oil change place doing it. So.
Yes, indeed. Well, we talked, I don't know, a month or so ago about the couple that was given $10.5 million from Crypto.com and some sort of an error. Well, they've had kind of a trial on it. They claimed they thought they had won some sort of contest, which is why they got an extra $10 million or whatever in their transaction, which was not the case. So, and there was reports she tried to flee the country. So very interesting story, but I guess if I was mistakenly given $10.5 million, I would try to do anything I could to keep it as well. And I don't know if we talked about it before, but what Crypto.com is saying is that a worker in Bulgaria who processed the refund had entered the wrong numbers into an Excel spreadsheet, which is what caused the $10.5 million error. So,
and I think we mentioned when we first talked about the story is that why is this being handled on a spreadsheet?
Yes, indeed. This has been going all over the internet, and I've heard several other tech podcasts talk about it. Podcast.ai put out a artificial intelligence podcast episode wherein Joe Rogan interviews Steve Jobs. Now, have you listened or heard any of this, Dave?
I listened to a clip of it, and it's probably like 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounded fine. It was very obvious in some parts that it was a robotic cadence and not natural speaking. But on the interwebs, people are talking about, like, what's the purpose of this? Are we?
Yeah.
It's hard enough to get people to listen to regular podcasts with real people. Now we have to compete with fake podcasts.
Fake podcasts with fake people. So it says here, podcast.ai is entirely generated by artificial intelligence. Every week we explore a new topic in depth, and listeners can suggest topics or even guests and hosts for future episodes. So yeah, I heard part of it. I didn't listen to the whole thing because, again, I was like, this isn't a real conversation. I don't need to know what they said. People have pointed out that some of the Steve Jobs stuff, it's like actual like phrases he would say like during presentations and stuff. It's solving a problem that nobody has, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that we can do it, but
yes,
there's really no reason to do it other than, I guess, and the entertainment value, which is what we're getting out of it, I suppose.
Got them some free press, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We haven't had one of these for a while, but this is an extra good one. HP, Hewlett-Packard, accidentally uses macOS screenshot in ad for Windows laptop.
Yeah, I mean, we've known for years that the marketing departments and stuff for all of these other companies all use Macs.
Yes,
they're Macs fans, and they use all the software on the Mac. So it's no wonder that something like this may have happened.
Yeah, so they were promoting it on Reddit, and it says the perfect laptop for all the necessary aspects of your job. And there's a nice little HP laptop. I've used some of those, set them up for clients. They're decent laptops, but yeah, then you look in the actual screenshot that they superimposed, and that's definitely a Mac. So I did see another, somebody had pointed out a tweet the other day for the new Pixel 7 Pro.
I think that's what number we're on.
Yes, and it was tweeted from iPhone, which again, the marketing company uses an iPhone, but you would think at this point in 2022 that it would kind of be part of the process that, hey, we're going to tweet to promote our new phone. Maybe we should tweet from the phone?
Yeah.
I don't know. Call me crazy.
Or do you do that on purpose so that people are talking about the...
Yes, the only way for them to get press for the Pixel. Yeah,
it's like, the controversy, and now people are talking about us. No press is bad press.
Oh, and something else that's been a while... I happen to notice Wyze has a new product today.
What? They've got like 19, but yes, please go on.
Well, yes. They are celebrating this week their 5-year anniversary, so congratulations to Wyze. Mm-hmm. And what they were really promoting today is their new Wyze Cam V3 Pro.
Yes, and I looked at some of the specs on this, and the big takeaway that I got was that it costs $70 or whatever.
One pack, $50.
Oh, okay. So what is it giving me over my V3 non-Pro?
So it's got crisp, clear 2K resolution, built-in motion-activated spotlight, which I don't think...
right.
Yes, the spotlight, faster detections with Edge AI, micro SD card slot for 24/7 recording, waterproof, and two-way audio, which I think the V3 had two-way audio.
So what you're getting, basically, I remember now, it's been a full like 8 hours ago since I read this article. The built-in light, which a previous model had one, I think you attached the light on it and plug it in the back.
Okay.
This one's integrated, and it's got the higher resolution. Instead of 1080p, it's the 2K camera, which is that 1440p? Or is that 2.7K?
2.7K.
Yeah, so who knows what the real resolution, 1280p, I don't know. So that's an advantage. And then of course their onboard processors a little bit faster, which most of these really cheap products, the reason they really stink is because the chip in there is so slow and just not quality. And so an upgrade in that department is a welcome addition, I think.
Yes, yeah. So nice little product from them, and they're going to be announcing some other stuff this week. So I am sure for Wyze Week, they're calling it. So I'm sure we will have more to discuss next week.
Yeah, I was excited. I was looking through their products again. I was like, oh, I might get that keypad for my door. Does it work with with my phone when I approach it? Does it unlock? No, it's got a fingerprint reader. And I'm like, okay, that's not much better than mine. And then I was like, oh, they've got the air filtration unit. I'm going to look at that. But it's more expensive than the name brand one at Costco. So I'm ready to pull the trigger on a new product, but there's just nothing out there that's enticing me.
Yes. Well, you know what's enticing me? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Yeah, so, a couple years ago, year and a half, 6 months ago, I don't know. When did I get my iPad mini? When did they come out?
I think that was in the spring.
It feels like an eternity because
all time is out the window.
Yeah, I've dropped it a couple times and it's not fresh and new looking. So I'm like, this thing is from like the 80s. I don't know. I do love my mini. I've been thinking about switching to a larger device. I'll keep it for now. But one of the most infuriating things, and I've kind of been an Apple apologist when it comes to certain things regarding it. I'm like, okay, it's small, it's whatever. But the battery life just has not been hitting the targets that I expect the iPad. And I'm just like, oh, well, maybe it's me, or maybe I'm not charging it regularly. I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt to Apple. And I shouldn't do that. I should be more objective in that. So I did a little research and found other people were having similar issues. And I'm like, well, is this just a bad product? Well, I think the culprit is background app refresh. So here's my experience. I would charge it up. I'd leave it sitting on the nightstand. I'd come back a couple days later to use it again. And I'm like, 34%. Like, what is it doing in 2 days? It should, on standby, it should last a long time. So I've been experimenting with turning off background app refresh. And honestly, I'm not even sure what apps are doing. Typically, you click on the app, it wakes up, it connects to the internet, it gets the information it needs, and it presents it to you. I can find no difference in the way the apps operate with background app refresh turned off. Like maybe a weather app would be getting information and then sending me a text message saying, hey, the weather's changing. But the built-in weather app does that anyway. Yeah. And isn't that what push notifications are all about?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm still researching what it does. However, I can report that turning off that feature has seemed to improve the battery life. I left for work today, and I used the iPad, periodically through the morning, scrolling through Twitter and Reddit and watch a video or whatever. And by the end of the day, and it was practically on all afternoon, it's sitting at 50%, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's see what it is now, having just kind of been doing, it's still at 50%. I haven't touched it in like an hour and a half.
Nice.
So it hasn't moved 1 percentage point on the battery. So here's my lesson to you and my pro tip. If you at home are experiencing either on your phone or your iPad less than satisfactory battery life, consider either turning off background app refresh altogether or leave it on and go through and turn off all the applications except for the ones that you absolutely want to have it on for.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, if you have Facebook or Instagram on your phone, I guarantee you those things are hitting your background app refresh every 10th of a nanosecond because they're just extracting as much data as they can from you. So maybe it's apps, social media apps. I don't know. Again, it's not clear to me exactly what the apps are doing in this state. I can imagine, but it's like I don't really know the difference. And why should I care if it's refreshing things in the background? So anyway, let's go through quickly since this has gone on long enough. On your iOS device, go into Settings, and then you click General, and about halfway down, you'll see Background App Refresh. The states are either on or off, and when it's on, there are little switches beside every single app on your phone that supports that feature. And again, I would recommend just turning the entire thing off, but if there are some applications you want to keep on, turn it on, and then you have the task of going through and turning off one by one, hundreds, if not multiple hundreds
if you're
of switches. So
not if you're Todd.
You're right. If you have 3 apps on your phone, then you're pretty good.
Yeah.
But in my list, I've got Twitter, I've got Zoom, I've got Wyze. Like, I'm terrified. Is Zoom, even though I haven't used that app on my phone in probably 2 years, is it like doing stuff in the background? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah, I'm looking through mine, and there's a bunch that I know I could care less, even if I want to leave on my social media. There's a bunch of stuff in it, like the IKEA app. Do I need to make sure that that's always updated and they can notify me or whatever?
I could see maybe leaving the Wyze app on, which I have done actually. I went through and turned all of them off. Or maybe some other home integration type applications that if the door opens and you want to be notified, like maybe it relies on that protocol. I'm not exactly sure. But I don't think the Best Buy app needs to be doing stuff in the background.
Yes, I agree. Well, on to our takes of the week. I mentioned it earlier, and we've been talking about everybody's got events and announcements every week. Well, Apple last Tuesday morning, they didn't do an event, but they did a press release, and they released new iPad models and new Apple TV models. The base model iPad, it's kind of confusing this time.
They've made a mess of things.
Yes. So the base model iPad, which we usually recommend to most people, you can get them around $300. They upgraded that to the 10th generation, and they made a bunch of improvements, but they also made it $140 more, $150 more.
Yeah, for $329 you used to be able to get the standard model. Now it's $449, so $120 increase. Now there should be discounts on that. You can probably pick it up for like $429 maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of them increasing the price. I would have been happy if they just would have left that at $329 forever, kept putting a slightly better camera, a slightly better chip. Heck, if it was just the chip, I'd be satisfied.
Yeah.
But no, they had to go and change it. So now they have the entry-level iPad, which is very similar in look and feel to the iPad Air. And then the third category is the iPad Pro.
Yes.
And the differences between the iPad Air and Pro were always very narrow.
Yes.
And now we've got the entry-level and the Air. The differences are very narrow. It's getting harder and harder to know which one to recommend to people.
Yeah, I've seen many people recommend that Apple just gets rid of the Air, which they might do because you've either got the entry-level one, which is good enough for most people, but if you want the faster chip, you're just going to get a Pro anyways. Mm-hmm. So back to the entry-level, they have some fun colors. They kind of gave it the squared edges. They switched it to USB-C instead of Lightning, but it still works with the first generation Pencil. So now you have to get an adapter to be able to charge your Pencil with your iPad because it has USB-C, not Lightning.
Yeah.
And one of the things everybody's been asking for in the iPad, they moved only on that model, the camera to the long end because that's how most people use iPads now. Mm-hmm. So it's not weirdly off to the side, which I notice all the time with mine, with Face ID especially. But yeah, so they added a bunch of new features. Then on the iPad Pro, they put in an M2 chip.
And no other changes. The camera's still on the short side.
Yeah.
The case is the same. No new colors, just a faster chip.
Yeah. So it is kind of convoluted. They are keeping around the 9th generation, which I think I would still recommend to most people because you'll probably be able to give them even a little bit cheaper now, under $300. But these new ones look fun, so I can see why you would want it. But if you're really a iPad Power user, an iPad Pro user, you would probably want an iPad Pro. But it is kind of I think it's a weird in-between year where we'll probably see some design upgrades to the iPad Pro next year. Maybe they'll get rid of the Air and kind of simplify everything. But yeah, it was everybody's kind of been just trying to figure out what all of this means.
We'll just wait and see. But I mean, I appreciate that they update them regularly.
Yes.
I won't be going away, even though my background app refresh frustrates me on my iPad mini. Hopefully that is fixed now. But I don't see me making a change anytime soon.
Yes. And then the Apple TV. So they now have two new versions that are both 4K, so they're getting rid of the HD version. They have the base one for $129, so a little cheaper. I would have loved to see them go $99 on that one. It's Wi-Fi only, which is kind of the big difference between that one and then the more expensive one, which I believe is $149 still.
And they've never done a Wi-Fi only Apple TV that I'm aware of. Haven't they always had the
I think they've always had an
Ethernet?
Ethernet connection, but I can understand just the average person. A lot of people probably aren't wiring Ethernet. They're probably Wi-Fi is good enough, so to be able to save a little bit of money and get that. And they both got the new chip. The A15 chip is what they're using now, so way overpowered for what an Apple TV does.
Yeah, all it does is just decode video streams and run a few apps. So
yeah,
and who's running apps? I'm probably the only one that ever runs an app on an Apple TV.
Yeah, I not many people. Well, just streaming apps. They're all apps, technically, but anything besides that. But yeah, so Apple had an announcement, and it was kind of all over the place. But I think the Apple TV upgrade is good. Yeah, so it is $129 for the Wi-Fi only, and $149 for the Wi-Fi and Ethernet, which that one now has 128 gigabytes of storage.
Which, I mean, is good.
Yeah.
They need the more storage on the Wi-Fi one because you need to download all your content in case there's disruptions to your Wi-Fi.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, so hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you, but it is kind of, and again, if you guys ever have questions on buying any technology, please ask us, because we've probably spent hours trying to figure it out ourselves. But also today, as we record on Monday the 24th, both macOS Ventura and iPadOS 16 are now available. And I also noticed on my phone, iOS 16.1 is available, which that has some of the features, the new features that are also in the new iPadOS and Ventura, so it'll all work together better now.
That on paper, at least.
Yes. The theory is it'll. Oh, but I did update my MacBook Pro today, and I can in Messages slide and mark as unread, my favorite feature. And before we started recording, I was trying out the continuity camera built-in thing where it literally, I opened up an app where it was using video and it prompted me on my phone, and then it started using the phone camera, and it was working very well and very easily. So very, very Apple-y, you might say.
Yeah, and I was greeted by wonderful close-up shots of your face.
Yes, my nostrils and beard.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I was sad that you turned it off and put the regular camera back on.
Yes. So I think with all the updates today, the iCloud shared library feature is now available.
Yeah. I never tested that during the beta.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have, but so I probably will test that out because my wife and I are now on our 5th iCloud shared photo album.
Blech.
So maybe with the library, we won't have the whatever it is, 5,000 photo limit that we can just kind of have it and it'll just work a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how you can disable some of the photos. Not because I take embarrassing or incriminating photos that I don't want my wife to see. It's because, as we've mentioned, I take photos of cables.
Boring photos, yes.
And boxes of stuff, things like that.
Yeah. So we'll play around with that. But you can go out and update all your Apple devices. There was another event this week, and I don't know if we usually talk about it too much, but Adobe had their big Max conference this week, and I used the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of apps.
Sucker.
Yes, I actually get a somewhat of a discount. I think it's $50 a month, and I pay $30 a month through a nonprofit that I work with. But they're doing a lot more of the AI stuff. My advice to anybody, I think I've said this before, I have used Photoshop going on, what are we in, 2022? 20 plus years now, so it is very natural for me. If you are just getting into photo editing or these kinds of apps, there are much cheaper options. With different sets of features. But Adobe does keep improving. They've got some AI stuff. I saw that they're doing some more VR stuff, where you could create stuff for the metaverse, of course. But yeah, they're doing stuff. They purchased, what was that company that they purchased recently? Oh, I'm not going to be able to think of the collaboration, but they're starting to build in some collaboration tools so you could share a file with somebody for review and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was the one that was a web-based video editing.
Yes,
photo editing.
Photo editing. It's the name is escaping me now, but that's all right because Adobe bought it and they're putting it into their stuff.
They're gonna just kill it. So.
Yeah, I don't need to remember it. So we had some announcements, another announcement going the other direction. FedEx abandons its last mile delivery robot program.
Oh, man. See, the big problem is that they were testing that in the United States, where everybody is mean and kills robots on site.
Yes.
They needed to test this in another country where they're more friendly to the robots. But yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yes, the Roxo robot, 62 inches tall, that was going to take your packages that last distance to you, and just did not seem to work out or be working out. Maybe the timing is not right for that. So
maybe in the future when people have learned to love robots.
Yes. Oh, someday. Well, this next one, it's not directly tech related, but it is Amazon, so I guess that's pretty tech related. And this is from Engadget. Amazon's attrition costs $8 billion with a B dollars annually, according to leaked documents, and it gets worse. The headline says.
Oh boy.
Yes, the documents also indicate potential lapses in the company's learning and development data. So attrition is the cost of employees moving in and out, I believe would be a good definition of it.
Okay.
And it's costing them $8 billion. But you think about how many, just around here, how many delivery drivers they have, how many warehouse employees they have, people just coming in and out constantly. To think about $8 billion a year on your budget is just employee management. Just that portion of employee management.
Yeah, hiring and firing and training and all that stuff. But, I mean, as they're doing this, they're at the same time, back to robots, teaching robots how to do most of the jobs.
Yes.
So,
yes, they will. They'll start saving that money real quick. It does say here in the article, regretted attrition, that is, workers choosing to leave the company, occurs twice as often as unregretted attrition, people being laid off or fired across all levels and businesses, according to this research.
Why can't those words just be easier?
Yes, regretted attrition. So we've got our business lesson in for the day, and then we've got a little security and privacy. Dave, I can't remember if you said you were going to be going to the World Cup this year in Qatar.
I don't believe I did say that, but now that you mention it, it's making me want to do some research on how that might be possible.
Well, let me tell you why you might not want to go.
Okay.
So,
give me another reason.
yes, another reason not to go besides soccer in Qatar.
Right.
So, everyone traveling to Qatar during the football World Cup will be asked to download two apps called Ehtiraz and Hayya. Yeah, so briefly, Ehtiraz is an COVID-19 tracking app. I believe that would be is a COVID.
An AI wrote this.
Yes, COVID-19 tracking app, while Hayya is an official World Cup app used to keep track of match tickets and to access the free metro in Qatar.
And both of them probably are just downloading data faster than you can create it.
Oh, how did you guess? The Etraz asks for access to several rights on your mobile, like this is written horribly, like access to read, delete, or change all content on the phone, as well as access to connect to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, override other apps, and prevent the phone from switching off to sleep mode.
Oh my gosh. This has to be on Android because those things are not possible on an iPhone unless you've been hacked somehow.
Yes, and it gets a bunch of other access as far as exact location. It can make direct calls via your phone and the ability to disable your screen lock. This is like, yeah. And then the other app does not ask for as much, but also has a number of critical aspects. Among other things, the app asks for access to share your personal information with almost no restrictions.
So it's going to tweet for you and say, "Hey, I love the soccer."
Goodness. Yeah. So it says here, and I heard other discussion that they don't know how mandatory the app is, but some of it is, your ticketing and your access to different things. But
so here's the deal. If you can afford to get tickets for the World Cup and, unless you're a local, travel to Qatar, you probably have enough money to buy a cheap $200 Android phone and do all of this through that phone.
Yes.
Leave your other phone at home, and then when you're done, throw it in the trash on your way back home.
I'll even give you a good deal on my Pixel 3a so that you can install these two apps.
Does that still work pretty good, the 3a?
It does. It is impressive. I want to do some more. I was playing around trying to do some photos between my iPhone 14 Pro and the Pixel, and it's not horrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only got a single camera on there, so there are some limitations.
That's the tagline. Pixel 3a. It's not horrible.
Yeah, and it's like 4 years old now, but it's a little slow. I mean, it's not running iOS, it's running Android, and I think this is the first year that it didn't get the upgrade to the latest version of Android. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall, I know I talk a big game about always getting the latest phone, but I can see why some people do not do that.
Yeah, if they just want to do their regular stuff and it's working, who cares?
Yes, and if they want to save some money for products of our bonus odd take of the week this week, which is theuncomfortable.com. Now, I think we might have had some similar sites to this, but it's just not horribly designed products, just products designed to be wrong.
Yeah. It's like a design class assignment.
Yes.
Let's make a product that just no one would ever make. One I see here on the landing page is a ruler, but it's only 1 inch.
Yes.
1 inch ruler, like that's not very helpful.
No. And it's about 1 inch. The uncomfortable ruler, they call it. And then there's the uncomfortable rain boots, where they look like normal rain boots, except for there's a huge hole at the toes.
That would be uncomfortable. And the eyeglasses, which, you're thinking, well, those look like normal eyeglasses, but the bridge part that connects the two lenses has a V-shaped where it would point into the top of your nose, providing a very uncomfortable situation for the wearer.
Yes, and there's some other uncomfortable chairs. Down towards the bottom, I see a thick fork. So it's probably about a 1 inch thick fork, which kind of negates the purpose. Some horrible pots and pans and brushes.
That's a band name if I've ever heard of one.
Yes. Thick fork. But yeah, there's the slipper spoon. I just like this stuff. I'm a big fan of good design, and therefore I am a big fan of mocking design and just being creative with how you can just really make things painful.
Yeah, some of them are duplicated. One that sticks out to me is the double wine glass, where there's one stem with two glasses on it. So inevitably, you go to drink one, you're going to spill the other one on yourself. So
yes, or the chain fork, where the middle of the fork is just chain.
They give you all the food you want, but you have to use a fork, and that's the fork you have to use.
Exactly. Well, you know what you're going to want to use is our picks of the week.
As I occasionally do, I film some local theatrical performances. And I'm always experimenting with different devices, different applications, different cameras, different everythings. And I kind of settle on using a video camera in addition to using an iPhone of some sort to record kind of a safety video or the widescreen that I can cut to back and forth. And the iPhones have gotten progressively better and better over the years. I mean, they look phenomenal. Just a 1080p sitting from the way back, pointed at the stage. You can zoom in, you can see faces. I mean, there's not a ton of detail there, but better than camcorders of yesteryear.
Yes.
But what if you wanted to take it just a little bit further and get another camera angle, but not having to use another device? And that's where my pick of the week, DoubleTake from Filmic, comes into play. And I know that I've talked about this app before, but I looked through on our website and I didn't see that it was a pick of the week, or at least mentioned on our...
Yeah, I think we talked about it when it first came out because Apple actually touted it. And then you did have the pick of the week several months ago, the multi-recs.
Yes.
Where you could do all of them at the same time. But DoubleTake Filmic is a very reputable...
Right. And it just works. Although I will say there are a couple different modes. And the second time I used it, I had it in the wrong mode. But the way it works is iPhone 12, 13, and 14 all have 4 cameras.
Yes.
Right? Doesn't the 12 have the 3 camera
Yes,
array?
yes, yeah. It does.
You may want to be able to record more than one camera at a time. And of course, this works on phones that have just 2 cameras as well. But it's more fun when you've got 4 cameras to mess around with. And when you open it up, you're presented with a quadrant of cameras, and you choose camera A and camera B. For example, for my theatrical performance, I would want to do the 1x lens, the standard wide-angle lens, and then the 3x lens, or if you're on a 12, the 2x lens, so that you could both record a close-up shot with one lens and a wide shot with another lens. Maybe you're a blogger and you want to record both yourself and the scene in front of you at the same time, so you can switch back and forth. Yeah. And you can do a couple different modes. You can do, like, you can have the camera side by side. You can do picture in picture. You can present it different ways. And where I messed up was, instead of having it record 2 discrete images, yes, I recorded the one image with the picture in picture. And so I was like, oh no, I've got one video file that has the corner, with the zoomed in corner, but I have my other cameras, so it's not that big a deal. And I think on that particular one, I actually set up my iPhone 7 as a safety.
Oh, and nice. I'll one backup is none backup.
Yeah, and I was experimenting with recording it in 4K, because it'll do 4K 30, versus the 1080p from my iPhone 13, because when you do 2 lenses, you can only do 1080p. And again, spoiler, they're very comparable. The 1080p on the new phone is very comparable to this 4K on the older phone, just because the sensors are that much better. And all this fun can be had for the low price of $3.99. So for $4, you could record multiple versions of your 4 cameras. It's like $1 a camera if you have the newer phone. So anyway, I like it. I think it's great. You can use it in a lot of interesting scenarios. I think when we talked about the multicam, I was recording my son at running track.
Oh, yeah.
Where I had the wide angle and the close-in angle. So if I wanted to see the other runners, I could. But if I wanted to see just him, I could as well. And let's be honest, he was way in front of everybody, so you couldn't see any other runners anyway. But anyway, DoubleTake by Filmic. Get it, $4. You won't regret it.
Well, we did not talk about this beforehand, but mine also involves the iPhone cameras. And a while back, friend of the show, Todd Workhoven, he was on a road trip and he wanted...
alleged
friend, Todd, previous guest of the show, he went on a road trip and he was trying to get some time-lapse footage on the road trip, just driving through Eastern Oregon, miles and miles and nothing. And he used the built-in time-lapse function in the iOS camera app. Mm-hmm. It is as Apple-y as you get, because you press the button and it gives you a file and that's what you get.
It's always about 3 minutes long, no matter if you you record
Yes.
for 20 or an hour, you're going to get a 3-minute video.
Yeah, so you don't have a lot of granularity there. So when he was talking to us about that, I remembered there's an app called Hyperlapse that was actually by Instagram, but it no longer exists. If you had it on your phone, you can still use it, but you can't download it as a new app anymore. So I started looking around and go, there's got to be something good. And I landed on Skyflow. So Skyflow Timelapse app, and it gives you a lot of functionality. You can choose which quality you want, how often you want to take pictures. And I actually sent you and Todd a video that I took while I was doing some driving through a little foresty area. It's very nice. So there's the free version, or it's a free app, and you're kind of limited. I think there's a small watermark and the quality's a little lower, but for the nice price of $2.99, you can unlock the full version where it will do 4K 60 frame per second raw photos.
Wow.
There's an HD version for $2, but really, if spending the extra dollar is going to break your bank,
just spend the $3.
Stop this podcast, go download Dave Ramsey, and come back in 6 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, $2.99, and it's really nice to be able to do it. There are a couple other apps out there, but this one's got 4.5 stars on 384 ratings. And I really like that you have a lot of options. I did not use all of them, but it's got like the grid overlays, so you can kind of see. It'll give you balance. It'll auto adjust, or you can keep it steady. All the different controls you would expect from a good camera app all come into this time-lapse app.
Well, good. I can recommend, just piggybacking, I use Lapsit that I've purchased, and it is surprisingly the exact same price.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Well, they have $2.99 for professional, and then they have unlimited for a year for $5. So there must be some other stuff going on. I think you unlock some features, and then if you want all the features, you have to subscribe. So,
of course.
So I think maybe Skyflow might be the better option there.
Yes. And I believe, if I am correct, I think Skyflow is just iOS, and Lapsit is iOS and Android. Still waiting to hear from any listener that uses an Android phone, which we have yet to hear. You're in a safe place. We won't tell people your name.
We'll
come to confession.
We'll change the names to protect the innocent.
Yes. No, we have nothing against people using Android phones. We just don't know of any listeners that do.
Except for you. You use one occasionally.
Yes, very occasionally.
When
but somebody, I would love to hear what people, when I go to Qatar. Get your time lapses, get your multi-camera video. Man, we are just setting you up to be content creators around here.
Yeah, get on TikTok. Turn that phone sideways like the devil would do it, and do a vertical video.
Yes.
And step 3, profit.
Yes. And please make some product review videos that we can post on the Not Nerd YouTube channel. We would love that content, because we seem to not get around to it quite often enough, is what I will say.
Yeah, life gets in the way.
It does. And with that, we will wrap up this episode so that we can let life get back in the way. Thank you so much for listening. Share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, share it with a stranger, share it somewhere, please, because we want. Yes, Dave.
When you get on the bus, just sit down next to somebody and just shove it in their face.
Or just get on the bus without headphones and play it as maybe bring a Bluetooth speaker.
There you go.
I could give you some recommendations on that.
That is
previous
the plan.
picks of the week. Bluetooth speaker, get on the bus or the plane, turn on the Not Nerd podcast all the way up, and we will get 0 new listeners.
And if you do this with video evidence, we will send you a prize.
Yes, we will. Because our goal is for everybody to get out there and tech better. You must have been talking about Chula Longhorn Day, or Deepavali, National Bologna Day, National Food Day, National Kangaroo Awareness Day.
Maybe it was
World Polio Day, Drake's birthday.
No.
Zambia's Independence Day.
I think we should just move on.
Come on, we're just getting warmed up. Disarmament Week?